If you own a Ring device, you may want to watch this video all the way to the end. This video is kind of a serious video and rather kind of might be a little bit eye-opening for some people because you may not know exactly where your recordings are going from your Ring devices. I'm going to stick to the script a little bit here because I don't want to deviate and get something incorrect, so you'll see me reading off screen a little bit. If you own a Ring doorbell or any Ring cameras, this is including of any security cameras, you might want to be aware that Ring has the right to distribute your videos any which way they want, including using it for other products and services or third parties. Also, law enforcement has the ability to receive your recordings without your permission or notification. They have the ability to fill out a simple PDF online and email it into Ring to retrieve any or all recordings from any Ring device, which Ring will not notify you that your device has been, I wouldn't say compromised, but it really is. It's been compromised in the aspect of that they're actually compromising it by taking your recordings and distributing them to a third party and or including law enforcement without notification to you. Just these statements alone kind of scare me enough to basically take my Ring doorbell down and replace it with something else that is more local recordings that I can control, that I know is not going out to the internet, that I don't have to deal with a service provider that will just basically take my information and share it with anybody and anyone. Probably saying to yourself, well, Brian, what do you have to hide if you're worried about your information being shared out there? It's not about the information being, like, I'm not going to do anything on my front porch that actually could cause me to be arrested or anything. But I also don't think that since I'm paying for a device that I should not be able to control where my recordings are going, what I'm saying on my front porch, or anything else is going to any other third party. I think that that is a big violation of privacy. It's a big violation of your rights to owning a product that you're actually paying for, that you should not be having it spying on you constantly and being able to take that information and distributing it any which way you want. That really is what bothers me. Everything else, even law enforcement, giving it over to law enforcement, I mean, you know, if something happened in front of my house or in front of my building or in front of one of these cameras that I happen to own, would I have any problem sharing that information? Probably not with law enforcement. I probably have no issue with sharing it, but I would know that I was sharing that information and that I would know that I'm taking that information and putting it onto a flash drive and giving it to the police or whoever. When I think that Ring can just do that by itself, I think that that's a little bit kind of shady and a little bit kind of weird. So also, you're paying for this service. Like, you're paying for them to basically distribute your information. That's what basically really pisses me off. Just these statements alone are rather scary, but a big invasion of privacy. They can only not grab just your Ring doorbells, but they can also grab anything from Ring security cameras, included and not limited to your indoor cams, your stick-up cams, your security cameras that are basically like your floodlight cameras. Anything that Ring sells pretty much is under this exact same privacy agreement. If you're using this camera inside your house, you should really think about where that camera is pointed, and not only that, because of where it's pointed, is because of who is actually accessing that camera at any point in time. I have seen some people that use these cameras inside, you know, bedrooms, inside children's rooms and stuff like that. You should really rethink this and actually take this camera out and maybe leave the cameras up to the outside of the building, or if you really need to see something, maybe more of a common area in your house that you may not feel so violated of their privacy if somebody else is actually watching that camera. Here's an exact quote from the Ring's website. I'm going to read it verbatim. Under the recordings, content, and permissions from you section, which is a real joke because it says and permission from you, which is if you actually have any permission. Anyway, Ring does not claim ownership of your intellectual property rights in your content other than the rights you grant to us under the terms you retain all rights you have in your content. Sounds great, but that's going to be negated in 2 seconds. However, by purchasing or using products and services, you give Ring the right without any compensation or obligation to you to access and use your content for the limited purposes of providing services to you, protecting you, improving products and services, developing new products and services, and as otherwise set forth in the privacy notice, which is, by the way, that's a whole nother long one if you might want to read that one. Additionally, by electing to publicly share your content via the services to other users or the general public, in addition to the license granted above, you give Ring the right, without any compensation or obligation to you, to access and use your content and related location information, by the way, so they know your address, for the purposes of publicly sharing such recordings and information with current and future users and allowing those users to comment on your content. Now, they're talking about their neighborhood section. That is actually whatever you post will be publicly displayed. But still, whatever you post also goes under the aspect of whatever you post, still they can still watch and read and do whatever the hell they want with it. In addition to the rights guaranteed above, you also acknowledge and agree that Ring may access, use, preserve, and or disclose your content to law enforcement authorities, government officials, and or third parties if legally required to do so, if we have a good faith belief that such access, use, prevention, or disclosure is reasonably necessary to. Now, I looked at their PDF that they have to fill out. First of all, the PDF is a joke. Anybody can fill anything they want in this information. They also email it over to Ring. So they're emailing information about maybe you or maybe the device that it needs to access through a way of receiving that information through email, which is not secured, by the way. It's not encrypted. So you're talking about a way of sending information or requesting information through some sort of email, which is just should never be trusted. So this is already a bad road to go down. And I mean, I'm not a security expert, but I definitely know that email is never to be trusted. And this is the most dumbass way of actually obtaining information from Ring. Even if you are law enforcement and obtaining law information from that, you're using a unencrypted email to send a PDF with your badge and information, and your information also of the person that you're trying to obtain info about. So yeah, this is not really good. I mean, well, what prevents someone from intercepting that email, grabbing all the information from, let's say, a person that really does need that information, let's say a law enforcement official that needs that information, changing the document just a little bit and resending it looking like it's sent from that person? Nothing, because email is not to be trusted. So I don't know how they're validating that. I would love to see how that works. Anyway, so they're going to comply with applicable law, regulation, law process, or reasonable preservation request. And you know what? They go into a whole thing about basically they're going to agree with law enforcement. Deleted content and Ring protected recordings may be stored by Ring in order to comply with certain legal obligations and are not retrievable without a valid court order. The court order seems like a real joke on this side because it doesn't really state anything else attached to the document before it's sent over. So, and then also you would still be sending that through email, which would be really a bad idea. So really what to get from this? I don't want to go into like reading a whole bunch about Ring's policies because you guys can read all about it. Make that decision yourself. But my decision, based off of reading this, saying that they can give all of your information to a third party even without your consent, pretty much means that they're going to use it any which way they want, including for marketing purposes or even for, you know, just for training purposes, or like they're going to train it onto some, you know, AI or some garbage. Who knows what they're doing with it? By the way, if you don't know, that Ring is also owned by Amazon. So you're also giving Amazon the right to your entire area of wherever you're recording, including maybe inside your home. I'm going to put all the links down below of exactly where Ring's terms and conditions are, where I found all this information. And you can read it for yourself, take your own judgment into your own hands and say, do I really want this on my front door or even in my house? This is something that you really should think about. Well, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. If you have any questions about the Ring policies, please feel free. We're not lawyers, so we're just reading what we read and interpreting it the way we want to interpret it. But you still have the right and decision to make up your own mind if you want to take the Ring device off your house or take it out of your building. If you have any questions or comments about Ring, please leave them in the comments below. We will read them and we will get back to you. Again, we are not lawyers. We won't be able to give you any legal advice, but from a tech point of view and from our standpoint, reading this notice kind of scares us, and that's the reason why we recommend that you remove very Ring camera, or maybe just switch to a different product that is actually enclosed in using recording at your own discretion instead of recording to the cloud. Well, to the next one, please feel free to leave a comment. Please subscribe. Please also check out our social media. We are active on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. The only thing we don't have is TikTok. Have a great day and see you in the next one.